Hello everybody, Final Rich here with the 10 best albums from 1974. I was going to do this video when Digital Gramophone did his from 74. And I got the records and I thought, you know what? I had listened to them all and decided on the order. But I thought, let me revisit them so I have something constructive to say. And as I was doing that, I couldn't find one of the albums. And that delayed this thing for like more than 2 weeks. Well, anyways, on with the show. Number 10, Court and Spark by Joni Mitchell. It's a transitional record. It has elements of her earlier stuff, like Blue and that acoustic guitar and piano, but it also has touches. It kind of starts to dabble into kind of the jazz feeling and the jazz bass lines that some of her later stuff would incorporate. She recorded this with the LA Express, and I think she toured with them. And I've seen some live clips, and the tours were great. And I think some of the members of the Jazz Crusaders are on this. Now, in 73, she did not release a record. I think it was the first time in her career. And she concentrated on writing the material for this. And she only did a handful of concerts in 73. This came out in January of 74. The first single was Raised on Robbery. It's kind of an up-tempo song. It didn't do that well. Production-wise, it's getting kind of poppy, kind of Steely Dan-ish even, But then she released a second single, Help Me, and that song went to number 1, I believe, maybe number 2 in the States. And this album was her biggest seller. This is her biggest seller of her career. It's in my top 5 of hers. Maybe it's in between 3, 4, and 5. Blue is my favorite. This album has a lot more pop elements than Blue. But I wouldn't call it a strictly pop album. The way it starts out with the first song, Court and Spark, it's kind of it's not a traditional song. It's an unusual way to start an album. It's not like a catchy tune or anything like that. Some of the songs, just like this train, I believe. And I don't remember. It could be Trouble Child, or they sound like they could come off of Horizon, her later album. But anyways, number 10, Court and Spark by Joni Mitchell. My number 9 is a Miles Davis entry again. And this is a double album. And it has 4 songs. 1 song per side. These songs were recorded, I think 1, maybe 2 were recorded during the Bitches Brew era. 1 was recorded during the Jack Johnson era, and 1 was recorded during On the Corner. All 4 sides are good. They're not really quite as good as the Jack Johnson, On the Corner, and Bitches Brew. With the exception of side 3, Go Ahead John. It's a 28-minute song. And that is the reason to get this album. That alone. I mean, the other 3 songs are great, but man, Go Ahead John, which is John McLaughlin. The guitars are, man, it's so disorienting even, the way this song was recorded. I mean, it it's wild. There's no keyboards in that song, which is very unusual, and it may be a first for Miles Davis. But yeah, great album. Number 9, 1974. Number 8 is the New York Dolls' second album, In Too Much Too Soon. It's a great album. I don't think it's quite as good as their first album, but it's got some really Chatterbox, Human Being, some of their best songs ever, dude. And yeah, it's just a great album. And I mentioned before in my 73 that I was not a fan of this band, when these albums came out. I thought they were, kind of ridiculous, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, fantastic. Babylon starts off with. Now, it does have 3 kind of iffy songs. There's going to be a showdown. It's a good song, but it's kind of goofy song. There's 3 goofy songs, There's going to be a showdown. Stranded in the Jungle, both on side 1. And then the 3rd goofy song, which kind of is a wanker, is Bad Detective. But other than that, man, fantastic. That's 8. Number 7. Weather Report's Mysterious Traveler. Maybe my favorite Weather Report album, quite honestly. It's, I think, their last great album. I mean, when I get to later years, I will revisit their later albums, but I do not listen to those ones near as much as I do this or the ones that came out prior to this. It's, I believe, the last album that had Alphonso Johnson, the bass player. They went on and Paco Pastorius joined the band. And though he's a good bass player, I think those years are not as strong as the ones before Jaco. But yeah, this starts off with Nubian Sundance. And when I did see them live, they were touring for this album. And that was the song that opened the concert. And it is one of the few times that I got like chills just listening to this music. It was just mind-altering, religious experience, as they say. It was just fantastic, man. The second song is a Wayne Shorter number. And then Cucumber Slumber is a good groove. This band, unlike a lot of other jazz, or especially jazz fusion bands, they play together as a unit. You don't hear all these solos and then everybody else is backing up this guy while he's soloing. And there's none of that. Everything is done for the purpose of the whole. And it's fantastic, dude. Number 6. Bob Marley and the Wailers, Natty Dread. Now this arguably is my favorite Bob Marley album also. There's really not a bad song here on here. It's a very, it's got some rockin' songs on it. Say Ja Say, Natty Dread, Rebel Music. Side 1, life starts out with Lively Up Yourself, No Woman, No Cry, then Belly Full, and Rebel Music. That's a perfect side, dude. Just great album. And I don't know what else to say. Bob Marley, man, I was fortunate enough to see him in concert too, and he was absolutely wonderful. Number 5, it's Miles Davis. This is the back, this is the front, it's the same. I always forget the name of this album. I always call it the Big Glasses album. It's He Loved Him Madly. No, Get Up With It. He Loved Him Madly is side 1, the song from side 1. This album by Miles is unlike any of his previous albums. He's playing a lot of organ on this, and it's not like it's like just like sound. I mean, all music sounded. I'm such a goofball. There's some of the songs don't have very much trumpet in them, quite frankly. Like He Loved Him Madly. It's like the full side. He maybe plays 6, maybe 8 minutes of trumpet, but he's playing organ through the whole song. There's a lot of flute on here. This song's got Red China Blues on it. It's the one song I played during my I did a song, it was an F-Face mute songs, and I played that song, and it got it banned in Germany of all places, and yeah. But anyways, it's a great album. It's unlike any of his others. The song Rated X, I mean, I remember when I first heard it, it was like, man, what the hell's going on with Miles? You know, it's just like this organs, and it's just like overpowering. Now, this is a 10 best list. Pretty soon I'm going to probably switch it up to 10 favorites. And there is a slight, I mean, it's kind of arbitrary picking 10 best, to be honest. But this probably is my favorite album of this year. It's definitely the one I played the most in 74. But it's number 5. Number 4. It's a great album. And maybe my favorite from this artist, Willie Nelson, Phases and Stages. I mean, he was on a high point at this period, dude. The album that came out prior to this was Shotgun Willie, a great classic. And then the one after this was Red-Headed Stranger. I mean, he had other great albums, but this was kind of like a high peak for Willie Nelson. It's Phases and Stages, if I didn't say. It's about a separation. Side 1 is told from the perspective of the woman and what she's dealing with. And side 2 is told from the perspective of the male and what he's dealing with. Now, a lot of men, they act like they're all macho, I'm macho. But in real life, men tend to take separations or breakups harder than women do. It's just a fact. And then I know I got into trouble spouting facts about differences of the sexes in one of my prior videos, but I mean, some people just can't handle the truth. But yeah, great album. Not a bad song on here. And it's got this little theme called Phases and Stages that comes on like 4 times, I believe, maybe 5. And it phases and stages, and then he'll go into the song, and that theme kind of reoccurs during and see, side 1, it's got Pretend I Never Happened, and then Sister's Coming Home, and then it ends with I'm Falling in Love Again. And side 2 ends up with Pick Up the Tempo. Willie Nelson did a really good job of telling the, 2 perspectives. Now we're at top 3. Number 3 is Brian Eno's second album, Taking Tiger Mountain by Strategy. It's an interesting album. The idea for the album is interesting. It came from some postcards dealing with a Chinese opera or something. And I guess it deals with the brutal force of the communist regime and the positiveness kind of clashing. But yeah, this album has nothing to do with that opera. Every song's different, but they all go together. They're very unique songs, unlike anything else at the time. This album did not chart in the US or the UK. I mean, it was a flop. I loved it. When I heard this album probably around 77, 78-ish. And the lyrics, see, I'm not a lyric guy, but man, the lyrics on this album are just so off the wall. They deal with espionage, spying, China. I mean, there's a part where they're talking about this one woman that has she can pick up subtle smells that a spirograph will miss, or something like that. You know, it's just oddball stuff like that, and it is just absolutely a great album. It's 5 core members in this band, or that make up this album. Robert Wyeth from Soft Machine is on this. I think he plays most of the percussion. You got Phil Manzarek, who was with Eno and Roxy Music, is on this, and 2 other guys. But yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic. I mean, side 2 starts off with Third Uncle, just this real fast. And then the second song, Put a Straw Under Baby. It's like a lullaby. And probably my least favorite of the album. China, My China, the song, is just fantastic. It's not probably for everyone, but I think everybody should give it a listen. My number 2 is an album I bought when it first came out, and it's one that I returned. Diamond Dogs. I did not care for this upon first listen. Bowie, I believe, plays all the guitar, so the guitar was a lot cruder than his Mick Ronson albums that preceded this. And I don't know. I mean, I bought it again, obviously. And, probably within 2 years, probably when the punk blew up, I ended up checking it out again. And this is the censored one. But yeah, this album, it kind of tells a story, I guess. There's a concept. I don't, whatever. But it has some of David Bowie's best singing. He really sings his ass off on this album. And yeah, it's my number 2. Number 1 is King Crimson, Starless, and Bible Black. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's King Crimson Red. Now, there is a song on here, Starless, yeah, which was going to be on that album. Both these albums came out in 74. And, but Robert Fripp didn't feel he didn't think it was all that great. I mean, the only part they had was the singing part. And they expanded that song to a 12-minute song. There's like a 3 or 4 different sections of it, and it ends with this. I mean, put it this buoy. This is a powerful album. It's very harder than anything King Crimson had ever done before. It's got a brute force to it, but then it does have a cerebral side. A lot of their songs with the singing or vocals in the past, I think, are some of their weaker songs. They kind of la 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 la, like that. I don't know. I'm not gonna talk about other albums, but this album, man, it's a threesome. They got rid of what's his name, David Cross. I mean, he was told the day before this album started recording that they no longer wanted him in the band. So it's basically a threesome with some guests, like a violin player, saxophone player, and trumpet. But yeah, there's really no guitar solos per se. I mean, there's some really loud crunching guitars. The bass, okay, I think it's Providence. That is actually a live improv that they did at a concert. And the bass in that is so powerful. And it reminds me of when I saw Black Flag in concert. And like in between songs, Chuck Bukowski would like hit the bass strings. And it was just so loud and powerful. I mean, this dude's a better bass player, but John Wetton actually sings really well in this too. But yeah, it's just a very powerful album. It's it's a progressive album. I mean, but it's kind of simple. I mean, you don't have all this wankering guitars and all these, you know, wankering solos. It's more of a, and the drumming and bass just make this album so hard. Robert Fripp's guitars layered upon guitar upon guitar. And it's my number one album from 1974. Take care, everybody. I'll be back.